What is up, guys? This is Bradley along with Zach and Dawson, and you are listening to the Charm City Sideline podcast. Today, we're going to be going over the Eagles Ravens preview. Eagles 9-2 coming to Baltimore. Ravens finally back at home. It's been a while. 9-2 is Philly coming to Baltimore, sitting at 8-4. This one's going to be at 4:25 p.m. on CBS, nationally broadcast. There's not even a game map for this game. It's going to be covering the whole country. Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on the call. How's your guys' Thanksgiving? And how are you feeling about this one coming up on Sunday?
Yeah, man. Thanksgiving was good. Full of family, friends, and good food, and a lot of good football too was played today. And this game ahead of us this weekend's a little scary to think about. Really, really tough game for Baltimore. Luckily, they're home in this one, so there's a little bit of an advantage there. But you got a really, really good Philadelphia team coming into Baltimore this year. And this could probably be, I would say, the toughest NFC team that Lamar Jackson has potentially ever faced, given how good he is against the opposing conference. But we'll see how it goes. But huge, huge game, biggest one of the season so far, I would say. And hopefully our boys can come out on top.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, guys, or post Thanksgiving. Thankful for all of you guys. Shoot, this game is awesome. Like, period. Like, I think some people have dubbed it kind of a Super Bowl preview, perhaps, or just a clash of absolute titans, battle of the birds. I mean, dude, it has every title imaginable, and I'm very, very excited to preview it with you guys.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I would say maybe Niners last year is the only team that better NFC team Lamar's faced. But yeah, man, I'm excited to get into the best time of the calendar year here. Thanksgiving going into December, Christmas time, all that good stuff. So yeah, to get into this weather for this game, it's gonna be 40 degrees at kickoff, but probably gonna get down to the lower 30s by the end of this one. Something that I love about the 4 p.m. games after the time change. It's like sun's gonna set in like the first quarter, so it's gonna feel like a primetime game. Zach thinks it's funny that I think that's cool, but like, hey, if it's nighttime, it's a primetime game in my opinion. So it's gonna be dark in the first quarter in this one. In terms of betting, Ravens are favored by 3, maybe a little surprising, but they do have the home field advantage there. Vegas usually has about 2.5 for home field. Over under 50.5. I'm pretty sure that's the exact same over under as last week. So Ravens are wearing the black jersey on the purple pants. They've only worn that 4 times in the history of the franchise, and they're 4-0 in those. Do you guys remember they blew out the Dolphins to clinch the number 1 seed last year in those? And yeah, just some quick hits here. Vic Fangio is the Eagles DC. There's been a little bit of drama in the past with him and Harbaugh, as you guys know. Another thing interesting, Lamar and Jalen Hurts never played against each other. So that's another interesting thing. I was trying to figure out and then here we go. Eagles on a 7-game win streak. So yeah, what are your guys' initial thoughts coming into this one?
I will say I absolutely love the jersey combo this week. It's probably my favorite, to be honest with you, other than the all black, of course. I mean, that's just a general consensus among Ravens fans. I love the black jersey and purple pants. There's so much aura to them. They look phenomenal. And if it's a primetime game at the bank underneath the lights, dude, what better than that? It's amazing. And honestly, I love the whole aspect of this game. They're coming in on a 7-game win streak. Ravens can play spoiler, kind of drop them off that win gauntlet they've gone on. Vic Fangio is the DC. Obviously, we know the history there with John Harbaugh and Vic Fangio's relationship, man. So this game is a lot. There's a lot of meaning to it. There's a lot of, much like last week, of course, against the Chargers. There's a lot of weird, tense relationships, I guess you could say there. So it'll be interesting. And of course, Lamar Jackson versus Jalen Hurts for the first time. That's going to be a super fun matchup to watch. I would say outside of Lamar, of course, Jalen Hurts is easily one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch in the NFL, given how similar they are. They're kind of a similar quarterback. So this matchup will be super fun to watch, given you also got a really good team on the call for the game, too. Whether you like them or hate them, it's going to be very entertaining and fun to watch.
I love talking about Vic Fangio because I think that video of him getting so pissed as we get that 100-yard mark again is like the funniest thing ever. I just love seeing his reaction. But let me calm your nerves a little bit, Ravens flock. This 7-game win streak, let me list their opponents that they've beat: Browns, Giants, Bengals, Jags, Cowboys, Commanders, Rams. A few of those guys are around contenders for the NFC, right? Just a few of them. But none of those are, respectfully, anywhere near the firepower that we can give. And sure, I think their defense is looking fantastic. I think Saquon and their offense is absolutely insane. They're a fantastic team, but they have not gotten a really hard punch from any of these teams. And I think Lamar and the King can deliver that. I'm pumped to see, even with like a big task like this. We played the Chargers last week and we kind of beat them up. How going into this one, some mentality is like sure, it's like a 7-game win streak is really, really impressive, no matter who it is. But we also have to get some wins here that are big for us and to continue the rest of the year kind of getting confidence as we've been knocked down a few times. It's important to win a game like this. I would love to be in the locker room to hear like what kind of messages they're banging on those drums. But either way, this is like a very important game for either side to really prove that they can compete and go win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of the matchup history, interesting. Only 6 games played between these two teams. I did some research, and it's so like the Ravens, the Eagles are the team that the Ravens have played the least, and the Ravens are the team that the Eagles have played the least in their franchise's history. Ravens lead the series 3-2-1. The very first matchup in 1997, when Vinny Testaverde was the Ravens quarterback, they tied 10-10 in that one. Last matchup between the two teams was in 2020, COVID year. Ravens won 30-28 after leading 24-6 in the third quarter. Carson Wentz kind of led a ravenous comeback in that one, but came up short there. Last 3 matchups between the Ravens and Eagles decided by combined 4 points. So probably going to continue to be another close game here. In terms of injury news, Eagles are decently banged up, but not terrible. Keely Ringo, the corner, has been limited. Devontae Smith, who missed last week with a hamstring, did practice yesterday. So he might be able to go in this one. That'd be good for them. Darius Slay has not practiced yet with a concussion that he suffered last week against the Rams. And man, Brandon Graham, great edge rusher for the Eagles, longtime player, suffered a season-ending injury last week. And man, he was having a great game against the Rams too, watching the tape. Then in terms of long-term injuries, James Bradbury, Bryce Huff, Byron Young, all on IR currently for the Eagles. On the Ravens side of things, Michael Pierce might be coming back this week, guys. Limited with the calf. He's been out since week 8 against the Browns when he got hurt. TJ Tampa, rookie corner, designated to return off of IR. So that'll provide some depth in the secondary. Charlie Kolar broke his arm. Don't think it'll be season ending for him. Hopefully be able to come back at some point. Hasn't even been placed on the IR yet, actually. Roquan Smith limited, so hopefully he'll be able to come back in this one along with Michael Pierce. We'll see about those two guys. However, with Michael Pierce possibly coming back, Broderick Washington and Travis Jones both not practicing on Thursday with leg injuries, but hopefully they'll be able to go. Arthur Millette still not practicing, and Calvin Noy actually showed up with a did not practice hamstring and a neck. Either team, guys, what's really sticking out to you on the injury side of things?
Yeah, man, I think when you look at this injury report, you both got to look at, the significant changes and chances of who's not playing on either side, or on both sides, respectively. And I think Darius Slay, of course, over in Philadelphia is a huge one. Granted, the Philadelphia defense is really good as a whole. They have 2 of like the best, if not the best, rookie corners this season. So it's not like, they lose Darius Slay and they lose everybody on the defensive side. They still have really good guys behind them. However, Darius Slay is an all-pro caliber Pro Bowl cornerback, and he's very good. So if he's not able to go for Philadelphia, that would be a big loss for them. And if you look over on the Ravens side of things, obviously we would love to all have our boy Roquan Smith back in the middle of the defense over there because his absence was a big one last week for Baltimore, even though they were able to overcome it. Props to Malik Harrison and all the guys for helping, fill that void. But either way, Roquan Smith's a huge asset to this Ravens defense, and it would be great to have him back against a really, really tough offense this week with the Philadelphia Eagles coming into town. And, it'd be a bonus if Michael Pierce can somehow get out there. I don't really expect him to make his debut this week, but they seem to have optimism about it in the building, which is nice to see. He did get injured, you said, late October, week 8 against the Browns. So we'll see. Luckily, he's played this season, so it's not a situation where the guy has to come in and necessarily get like into football shape. He's only been out for quite a few weeks, however, but still, he's still in football shape, I would imagine. So he could get a quick turnaround and be on the field Sunday, which would be huge. So the main things there, obviously Roquan, Michael Pierce, and hopefully the guys like Broderick Washington and Travis Jones are able to play. There's been a lot of situations in the recent few weeks where Travis Jones has not really been practicing a lot just because he's been dealing with a really tough ankle injury that's kind of not going away at this point. So I would be pretty shocked, to be honest with you, if he's not playing, because it seems to be the trend lately that he kind of doesn't practice. And then Friday, he's probably going to be limited and he'll be out there on Sunday. And, if we can get through this game with him being healthy, we got the bye week right after, and that would serve wonders to all the other guys fighting injuries. So hopefully that's the case. But either way, it looks like both these teams respectively are not going to be missing a ton of pieces. However, there could be maybe one or two on each side that could serve, a big loss to each side in this matchup.
Yeah, Roquan's obviously the biggest name here, but I think Michael Pierce, if he could return, I think the run defense literally flips on its head. I think it becomes, top 3 in the league easily. And talk about needing that against a guy like Saquon and the threat of the tush push and Jalen Hurts getting out of the pocket. We're going to need all those big bodies. Broderick and Travis, obviously, too. Big names that we would need. I think losing someone like Kolar is also a big deal. I think someone like him that provides a great blocker and then also like a few explosive plays means that someone else is going to have to step up. Maybe Likely takes those snaps. It's a big deal in that aspect, but also for the Eagles, Slay has been kind of like, at least when I've seen, kind of half and half. He hasn't been the same. Also note that he was almost a Raven, I believe. Isn't that right? Like we also tried to make a push to him. So that'll be interesting if he's not going to go. But yeah, I noticed the Devontae Smith talks as well. That was kind of concerning, but I think they're going to be good to go. And we'll have a pretty good looking game injury wise whenever we go Sunday.
Yeah, there's a good point about the bye coming up. I mean, if we can get through this game, and then after that, they're going to be good to go for the rest of the season. To get into the Eagles offense versus the Ravens defense, Eagles have one of the best offenses in the league, obviously. They just scored 37 points on the Rams last Sunday night. They've scored 26 or more points in 6 consecutive games. You guys are going to know all these players, but just to break it down a little bit, Jalen Hurts is 69% on the year, over 2,000 pass yards, 13 touchdowns, 5 picks, over 100 passer rating, over 400 rushing yards, and 11 rushing touchdowns for Jalen Hurts. Saquon Barkley, current the offensive player of the year favorite, making a run at MVP too, almost 1,400 rushing yards, over 6 yards a carry, 10 touchdowns. Last week against the Rams, rushed for 255. He had 300 total yards of offense, 2 touchdowns, and he is on pace to break Eric Dickerson's record. That is 2,105 yards. Saquon's on pace for 2,151 yards. So obviously Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, 2 elite receivers. Devontae's probably going to go in this one, but can't be sure about that. One weakness of the Eagles, they really don't have a wide receiver 3. They traded for Jahan Dotson, hoping that would kind of work out for them. Really hasn't. I don't really think there's another guy that Jalen Hurts trusts. Tight end, they got Dallas Goedert, solid player. Points per game, they score 27 a game, 390 yards a game, 196 pass yards per game, 193 rush yards per game, which is first ahead of the Ravens, and 32 minutes of time of possession a game. So these two offenses are very, very similar, guys. Dawson, what sort of catches your eye in terms of the Eagles' offense?
I mean, this offense is exactly what you just stated. It's everything that everyone's looking at. This offense is absolutely incredible. They have so many star players, and everyone respectively seems like they're leading the league atop their position. Saquon Barkley is having one of the greatest seasons that you're ever going to see from a running back, and not to mention Derrick Henry is as well. But Saquon Barkley, absolute freak, running 300 total yards last week in one game is just absolutely wild. And obviously, Jalen Hurts is a phenomenal quarterback. They have two very, very good top 12 respectively wide receivers, I would say, and AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. And they have a very, very good tight end in Dallas Goedert, and their offensive line is really good. And you can see that by looking at the metrics you just stated, Brad. This team is no joke. They put it down on teams every single week, and they don't really have a lot of weaknesses on the offensive side of the ball. I would say the only thing is probably, like you said, maybe they don't have a trustworthy go-to wide receiver three, but none of that really matters when you have top two running back in the NFL, a top 10 quarterback, and two top 12, top 15 wide receivers. So it's not, they're good. They're doing well over there. They don't have any worries. And, we've been sitting here saying that the Baltimore defense is not back, but they're showing signs of life. Of course, they've been playing good the last few weeks and they're showing signs of improvement and they're kind of finding a rhythm. Well, here you go. It's weekend after Thanksgiving, and you're going to get an opportunity served on a platter right in front of you. And hopefully the Ravens can, come out and keep doing what they've been doing because if this is not the toughest test yet, I don't know what will be. So we'll see truly what the Ravens defense has built upon this season this week when they have Philly coming into town because I don't know how much harder it could get.
I love the stats that you mentioned at the end. So first in rush yards, that's amazing to see someone beating the Ravens actually.
Yeah.
25th in pass. If you think about our defense, it's really been trying to limit the explosive pass plays. The running game defensively has been our bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
So especially the explosive stuff, right? Like there's really, I think maybe with JK, he had a few of those big runs, but since he got injured, we didn't really see anything more. So playing someone like Saquon is going to mean that you're tested at the very highest level, but also how does our defense combat the fact that it's Saquon and Jalen and leading these extremely long drives every time of possession, they're having 32 minutes a game is what you said. Like that's ridiculous. That's also an extremely high time. So if they're going to have these long drives, limiting the explosive run plays is important. And we tend to do that pretty well. But then they have a few guys that are very capable of explosive pass plays with AJ Brown, Devontae, and even Goddard can get in there for a few long ones. It's going to be really important just to kind of negate the first and second down. I usually kind of bang that drum, but in this case with Saquon, the first and second run can also go for 50 yards. So no matter what, they're threats to get these big plays, and I think that's where their offense really derives from. And then if they get in some situation where they only need a yard to get that first down, it's almost automatic. So someone like Michael Pierce, like Travis Jones, or Roquan to really blow up the line of scrimmage, we need it in this game. If we don't, we're going to expect those long drives, and hopefully our offense is very on point, getting their points when they need to. But not to get ahead, the defense really needs to limit the long drives. Not necessarily saying to let them score quickly, but get them off the field.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, especially about the 4th and shorts, because I feel like, guys, in our lifetime, the Ravens, I don't know about you guys, but when there's a 4th and 1 and the Ravens defense is on the field, I'm always feeling pretty confident.
Yeah.
This game, not so much. The Eagles are probably just going to pick it up with a tush push every single time. And I will mention, Zach, you touched on it a little bit. I think the Ravens defense would have struggled a lot more if Dobbins doesn't get injured last week. And Saquon is a different beast. Obviously, it'll be nice to have Roquan back, but I think Saquon's still going to have a really good game. I think Devontae Smith coming back, well, we're saying he's coming back. It's probably more like a 60% chance, but if he can come back, it's massive because they really don't have another receiver that Jalen trusts. So that'd be really big for their offense too. And I really just feel like if the Ravens can find a way to stop the run early, way easier said than done. That's probably the difference in the game. If Saquon gets going early, if Jalen Hurts is running the ball well, Eagles are probably going to be in the 30s in this one, and the Ravens are going to have to find a way to keep up.
Yeah, I mean, I personally believe that Devontae Smith will be out there. Like we said, we don't know the chances yet, but I do think it's an encouraging sign that he will be out there. And obviously, if he's not, I don't wish injury upon anybody, but that would help the Ravens defense tremendously. And I will say it is kind of encouraging that our run defense has been really good this season. Like it's been like literally top 3 the entire season, if not the best. And, obviously that's the Eagles' specialty right now. Their run offense is incredible with Jalen and Saquon. So I will say it is encouraging that that is kind of our strong suit on defense. And now that potentially you're getting Roquan and Michael Pierce back, I mean, that's two huge assets to stopping the run on defense. So obviously that's a very good sign. Um, I just hope the Ravens defense comes ready to play because this is another team just like yourself that likes to play smash mouth north south football. And they come to play, they're very physical and they will beat you up and beat you to the ground. So the Ravens got to match that intensity early, kind of punch them back, if you will. And they have to start strong, obviously, because if Ravens start slow, like they have in the recent weeks on the offensive side of the ball against this team, it could get rough a little early in Baltimore, and that's obviously not what we want. So it'll be interesting to see how the Ravens start this game, how aggressive they are early. If it's a 4th and short position, because the Eagles are going to do it. If it's a 4th and short for them, they're going to do it. Their infamous tush push that happens. It looks like 100% of the time. So it'll be interesting to see. And I just pray that we do get these guys back this week because if not, I'm still a little encouraged by this game, but that obviously ultimately helps us tremendously.
Yeah, and one final thing for me about the Eagles offense is it's not that creative. When you compare it to like a Ben Johnson offense, it's night and day different. But what the Eagles do is they just line up and execute, and they basically say, "We're going to out execute you," and they just run the ball at you. Not much motion, not much, not too many trick plays, that sort of thing. Not too many crazy route concepts, but they kind of just rely on the talent of their team. And Roquan playing versus not playing is probably going to be what really changes that and dictates that side of things. So, yeah.
That's what I'm saying too. Like Philadelphia is truly a north-south physical team. Like they just, like you said, they just trust their fantastic offensive line and they just give it to Saquon and they run right up the gut every time. And they just trust that their guys are going to out bully and out physical, your guys, and they're going to get it done. So last week, obviously, J.K. Dobbins had a little success early. Roquan wasn't playing, but he went down, of course, so I did help Baltimore. But like you guys said, Saquon is a completely different beast than what the Ravens have seen all season. I mean, we have Derrick Henry, who of course has been atop of the league as well this season, but I would say Saquon is the only other guy that has been anything near Saquon or Henry's talent this season. So the Ravens have a huge test in front of them, and I would easily say this is the biggest one yet.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess we'll move over to the other side of the ball now. Eagles defense against the Ravens offense. This Eagles defense, guys, is insane. Kind of top 5 in every metric. They have allowed under 21 points in 7 of their last 8. On the flip side of things, Ravens just scored 30 points on the number 1 scoring defense in the Chargers. Some players on the Eagles defense to look out for: Jalen Carter, the D tackle, having a great year, 30 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 7 tackle for losses. Josh Sweat is a good pass rusher for them. He's got 7 sacks, having a similar year to Van Noy and Owe. Nolan Smith, the young guy out of Georgia, 3.5 sacks. So he also gets after the passer as well. Like we mentioned, Brandon Graham went down with an injury, and he was playing exceptional last couple of weeks, even at his age. He's great against the run, great against the pass. So that's a big loss for them. They're going to have to really fill in there with Nolan Smith. Zach Bond, their off-ball linebacker, over 100 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. He's got an 87 PFF grade. He's having a great year. He was from the Saints. Still pretty young guy. Nakobe Dean, their other off-ball linebacker, over 80 tackles and 3 sacks. Another strength of the team. Like we mentioned, guys, offense, no weaknesses. Defense, really no weaknesses. Free safety, Reed Blankenship's having a great year. CJ Gardner-Johnson gets a lot of hate, but he's a good player, feisty guy, makes a lot of plays. Cooper DeJean, their nickel out of Iowa, is having a great season. And then Quinyon Mitchell, probably the best rookie corner this year. I think he's having a better year than Wiggins, probably having a better year than Arnold on the Lions. Darius Slay went down with a concussion, so that could be a big miss. However, Isaiah Rodgers is kind of their number 3 outside corner, and he's a good player too. So there's still, even without Slay, there's not much things to attack here. Eagles allow just 18 points a game. They allow under 100 rushing yards a game. That's 7th. Pretty good on the pass rush department too, with 33 sacks. My opinion, guys, for the Ravens this week would just to get back to the run game. Not so much get back to it, because they finally did get back to it. Do what you did against the Chargers. Because Derrick Henry had 24 carries last week, and the loss against the Steelers, 13. 13 carries, guys, is not enough for Derrick Henry. I don't care if you're down by 17 points. That's not enough. And I looked up or did some research on Henry's game logs this year, and in the Ravens' 4 losses, his carry amounts are 13, 18, 11, and 13. So yeah, Dawson, what's catching your eye here on the Eagles defense?
I mean, this is a complete team. The Eagles have no weakness, dude. They're just star-studded across the board. And like you said, even without their guy and Darius Slay, they're still so good on the back end. And they have quite literally probably the 2 best corners in football right now, rookie-wise, 2 best rookie corners. And they're just loaded, man. It's going to be a really tough test for this Ravens offense, which obviously we know has found a lot of success this season. And they've been right there as well, atop the league. And I like the point you pointed out towards the end of Derrick Henry's carries and losses. It's no coincidence that the Ravens offense finds more success when they feed him, close to 20 plus carries a game. So the Ravens kind of got back to that last week in LA, which was great, given the previous week in Pittsburgh, how that went. The Ravens are just going to have to attack that once again against a really tough unit, try to get it going against a really big, really tough, and really physical defensive line over in Philadelphia. They have so many guys across that defensive line that I have wanted the Ravens to draft in previous years and stuff. So it's going to be really tough, obviously, and hopefully we're able to get the run game going early. But like you said, Brad, too, I really like that point. The Ravens seem to get away sometimes from the run if they're down. And I don't care if they're down 17 points, you have to feed Derrick Henry and get him 20 carries in a game, because we've seen now several times this season where the Ravens have come back down, in games where they're down 10 plus. So they're kind of establishing this comeback Kings mentality, and it's great. But this is not a defense you want to mess around with this weekend in Philadelphia. This isn't a defense that's just kind of good. They're really good. And this team overall is very complete. I would say probably top 3 in the league as far as how complete they are overall across the board. And the Ravens have to be on their game this week. There's no mistakes to be made. You have to play mistake-free football. This Philly defense is not going to give you a lot of chances to attack them and kind of make them vulnerable. So the Ravens are going to have to be on their A game and play a really clean football game this week to have a chance in this matchup.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. It's starting off really well. The last few weeks, it's been kind of rusty, and then it gets going, but you're going to lose a step on the Eagles. You probably might lose the game. So I think playing clean at the beginning is a big deal, and that also means penalties. Penalties have obviously been our Achilles heel so far, and right now, if we were to start off like how we did last week or the week before, turnover or, first drive, freaking 15-yard leg whip. Like, dude, come on. We gotta straighten up. And especially against the Eagles team, that's gonna make you pay for that stuff. I love Zach Bond. He's such a monster. He was never really shown off with the Saints, and I find it amazing that the Eagles could bring someone in like that and make him a superstar. I think all of their secondary is also studs, but it's also, since they're rookies, it means that our veteran guys have to beat those guys in matchups and one-on-ones. And someone like Mark Andrews can be big in this game. Someone like Nelly can create some separation. Even Deontay, if he were to be given a chance, really beat those guys in one-on-ones. And hopefully, if you win your matchup, Lamar's going to find you. So you just got to win those. And as long as that happens, it opens the run game. And then King Henry gets his 20 carries, and we have a recipe to win. So that sounds pretty good to me. I think the Ravens need to let Lamar loose just a little more in the run game. I'm really concerned as of late with how he's honestly been getting the attempts, I think, that we're kind of used to, just stat-wise, but not really the explosive, couple of 20-yard, 15-yard carries that really propel a drive. And whether that means early or not, it means that something like that just breaks down a defense. You get one of those early where Lamar gets out of the pocket and, freaking shake and bake a few guys, and he's gone for, quick 20. And the drive now is basically starting at the 50? Like, it's going to propel a new level of confidence into the guys, especially against a big group like this that we're going to need early, like quick. I'm not totally sure what this stat is. I just want to talk about it. Like, opening drive success I mentioned the last 2 weeks, but before that, it felt like we'd gotten in a pretty good groove, at least getting, a few first downs. And now it feels like we're kind of kicking ourselves, and that's got to be corrected against specifically a great team. And that's first step for the offense to really get a real chance at beating the Eagles, because we know that they're going to match our firepower.
Yeah, and that's something I want to see Monken do early in these games is throw some screens, and he does do that a lot. But we didn't see that in the Chargers game, and Lamar was a little frantic at the beginning, just overthrowing a couple guys. So I think starting with a couple runs, couple screens, maybe the little tap pass on the jet sweep, just to get sort of everyone a touch, and especially doing it against a defense like this. I mean, in terms of talent, this is the best defense in the league. I mean, even statistics, they're top 5. But, I mean, just looking at a roster, a depth chart, this appears to me on paper as the best defense in the league. You guys agree with that?
Probably, to be honest with you. We've played a lot of really tough defenses this year, and we found a lot of success against them. Denver, Chargers, Commanders were a good defense at the time. And there's been a few Bills, obviously. So, I mean, probably Philly's definitely amongst the top of the league in defense, just overall success and how many playmakers they have.
Yeah, it's a similar test to the Chargers, except these guys have a little more of like the well-known names almost. Like I feel like these guys are more known just because of the Eagles' success, but also because they're big play guys. It's really going to be about the explosivity on both teams, who can really create the more big plays that really break open this game.
Real quick,
Yes.
correct me if I'm wrong. Real quick,
Yeah.
something reminded me of this when you guys started talking. Zach mentioned Lamar running more and stuff. I believe it was the 2020 game against the Eagles. It had to be. It was early on in Lamar's career. We were playing the Eagles in Philly, and I believe Lamar broke one loose for like
Yeah, he had
50
a long
yards,
run. Yeah.
like
That's a
right through the
gut.
middle of the defense. That was
Yeah.
awesome, and he kind of like spiked it into
Mm-hmm.
the crowdish, on the
Yeah.
bottom.
The
And
no crowd
man,
that was there.
I would
yeah, it
take
was
it.
COVID year,
I'll take
wasn't it?
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that'd be cool to see another one of those this weekend. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I think there's something else I was gonna say, but just this Eagles defense is insane, and just run the ball, because the Eagles offense is not going to abandon the run, even if they're down 10. So I sort of want to see the Ravens copy that, and I just want to see these two teams going at each other in the run game, and I think it'll be exciting. Maybe a low scoring one, also maybe a high scoring one, because like you guys said, Saquon and Derrick Henry, kind of the two guys in the league who can break long ones. I was listening to Chris Collinsworth, Eagles Rams game, and he was saying like the Eagles run game is rare because it's an explosive run game. They're not just trying to get 5 yards of carry; they're trying to score a 70-yard touchdown, and that's similar to the Ravens. So you got to be really sound, filling the gaps, and obviously we keep touching on it, but that's what Roquan can do for the Ravens defense. Is he able to come back? If you guys have nothing else to add, we'll get into score predictions here, and I feel like I should not go first. So, Dawson, we'll start with you.
Oh, geez. I just want to say these are two teams. Obviously, we've been talking about it. They play very similar brands of football, and they're just two teams that match up very well against each other, and just play the same brand. That's all really is. If I have to be a betting man on this game, you're giving me money to put in this game. Unfortunately, I don't know if I can back the Ravens this week, boys. Do not throw shade at me. Do not hate me in any way. I've only predicted a couple losses this season in our previews. One was against Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, that came true. This Eagles team, man, is just so good. They're 9-2 for a reason. They have an elite offense, an elite defense, and they're just clicking on every aspect of the football field, man. And I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. It's two pretty good defense at Philly, emerging defense at Baltimore, of course, and two great offenses. So I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. I think the over under is a definite smack on the over. if I had to bet, I take the Eagles in this game, like 33-ish to 27. I think it comes down to a couple last minute push. Hopefully the Ravens can get in the end zone. It's really hard for me to confidently take Baltimore in this game, man. It's two fantastic teams, and I'm just it's hard.
Man, this is a very, very difficult one to pick. I feel like with the Steelers, I can't pick it well, but this one is like different, especially with the fact that Lamar is this way against the NFC. This is a big game, and I feel like the Ravens, whenever they play a big name opponent, they always come ready to play. And gosh, it makes me want to pick the Ravens, but I think the Eagles are on a tear right now. I think they're just kind of clicking. Honestly, maybe peaking at the wrong time, but I think I'm picking the Eagles. 31-25. It pains me to say it because in Baltimore, too, it feels like it would go the Ravens' way. The Bills game, being there, feeling the hype around that, too. Like, it felt like it must win. It felt like against possibly the best team in the league, and they went out there and dominated. That could easily happen this game. We've seen Lamar and the Ravens shock an amazing team before, but I just don't see it clicking. I think we're not peaking at the right time, and they are, and I'm going to give it to them 31-25.
I will say real quick before Brad hopefully picks the opposite direction. Me and Zach picked. Hopefully, let's hope Brad comes in clutch. I will say that this is a game I believe if it was in Philly, I feel like it would be favored in the other way. I think Philly would be favored by 3. I truly think the home field advantage in this matchup is something they are looking at heavily. Not that Philly's far. There's probably be a ton of Eagles fans there, I would imagine. It might be a 50-50 crowd. Who knows? I think that's a huge, flip in this game. And I know Lamar is absolutely unbeatable against the NFC. I love that. I do 100% believe that this is the best NFC team he has seen in his career so far. So that's why, unfortunately, I probably lean towards the Eagles this week. And I mean, that's got to be my reasoning behind it. And obviously, I have faith in this team, but this is a really, really good team we're talking about, boys.
Yeah, I was kind of 50-50 on this for a little bit. There's kind of 2 reasons why I am going to pick the Ravens. Number 1, I talked about sort of Kellen Moore as the OC and his schematic principles not being super I said creative earlier. I don't know if that's the right word because that kind of feels like a dig. It's more so just like simple, and they line up like we're the better team. But when you look at when the Ravens struggle this year, it's deep passing concepts, miscommunication, and I do think the Ravens just lined up can play well with Zach Orr, the energy of him. We haven't talked that much about the Ravens DBs, but like Marlon Humphrey, physicality matches up well with A.J. Brown. Brandon Stevens, not had a great year, but his physicality can help too. He's a great tackler, so he can help in the run game as well. Nate Wiggins, a perfect guy to cover Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith probably is going to have the edge, but still a great guy to be on him. I think it's kind of a decent matchup for the Ravens, especially if Michael Pierce can go. And then the other reason is kind of pure vibes. I mean, Ravens, I think it's 2 away games in a row, so it's going to feel kind of refreshing to be back at the bank. So it's been 2 weeks plus a couple of days because it was that Thursday night game against the Bengals is the last time the Ravens were at home. So I think the energy is going to be there. The black on the purple. Those are kind of the other reasons I'm picking the Ravens combined with Lamar's record against the NFC. And it's really not just some stupid record. Like when you're playing Lamar Jackson once every 4 years, it's really tough. Think about the difference of once every 4 years and twice a year. Granted, the Bengals still aren't able to beat him, but it's definitely tough to do. So I'm going to go with Ravens 29, Eagles 27 in this one.
I think it's a very fair, logical reason for all of us. And I don't know. It's going to be a fun game to watch, man. I'm super pumped, and I hope our boys can come out on top in this one. I'm kind of excited. It's a 4:30 game, low key. To watch the 1:00 games and kind of just chill, and then watch a Baltimore game
That's
at
what
4
I'm saying,
o'clock.
man. That's what I'm saying.
Like it's kind of gonna be fun to watch. So
I love 4 p.m. games.
Not to mention, you said too. I mean, we haven't been home in a minute, so the vibes are
Yeah.
going to be there. The energy is going to be through the roof, and it's going to be great atmosphere, man. I wish I could make it out to this game. I really wanted to, and it'll be really fun one. Should be a fun one to watch.
Do you guys think this game would come down to like final possession, like run out the clock and it ends that way? Or do you think it comes down to like final touchdown in the last minute? Or even field goal? Because Brad, you have like a 2-point game. I have a 6-point game.
Yeah.
Dawson has a 6-point game. Like, how do we think it ends? Like, I know with Ravens games, it always, if they lose, it comes down to pretty close, but the win always turns out to be a blowout. So I'm kind of shocked we are all really, really close.
I could see Lamar driving him down at the end. I could see a Tucker game-winning field goal in this one. Imagine that.
Too.
He needs that. And Ravens
Dude.
fans need that too.
I do not want to witness that. That'd be terrifying. I guess in the end, you could say that the reason I picked Philadelphia too would just be because I trust their defense more than the Ravens' defense right now, and I think anyone can logically agree with that. I guess that just has to be the outstanding factor in this one as far as my decision. Ravens' defense is playing great ball lately, but just Eagles' defense right now is on another level.
Yeah, for sure.
I also want to say one more thing. Yeah, like the fourth down, like I was listening to the Cowboys radio broadcast as I was traveling today, and they're talking like mid-game about John Harbaugh going for it on fourth down from like 18. Like, this is wild stuff, and really I expect that from the Eagles almost. Like, I expect them, if it's 18, it's a 4th and inches, they're going to go for it, right? We're seeing basically like not a mirror of us, but a mirror of almost what we want to be, like how we would be going for it and dominate games, and our running backs playing great and our receivers are elite at some point, and hopefully a defense plays really good. So especially with how they've been playing. So I'm just blown away by this game. It's going to be must watch game of the week. I mean, gosh, you couldn't ask for a better matchup. At least week 13? Like, this is perfect.
Yeah, my guy NFL.scouting on Instagram always does his game picks, and this is the second week in a row the Ravens had the game of the week. So yeah, 2 big games in a row. I'd say that's about all from us tonight. Hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving. If you guys are going shopping today on Black Friday, you probably already did it by the time you're listening to this, but good luck and entering into the holiday season now. A very exciting time. So yeah.
Little fun fact, quick little fun fact for me. We can sit here and hype up the Eagles wide receivers all we want, and they're obviously respectively very great with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. However, Zay Flowers has a better season so far than A.J. Brown, and Rashad Bateman is having a better season than Devontae Smith. So as good as the Eagles wide receivers rightfully are, the Ravens wide receivers have been rightfully just as good. So it'll be a very good even matchup as far as that too. I just wanted to point that out because I just realized that. That was something I wanted to point out because that's really nice actually.
Yeah, I like that. But yeah, we will see you guys Sunday night after an outcome to this game is what I'll say. All right, thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.